Well, welcome back to the Newsman Weekly. Joining us now, as promised, is Richland County Commissioner Tony Vero. As I said earlier, if I allowed elected officials and politicians to be certified friends of the show, he probably would be, because he's been a multiple guest, but we don't allow that here. So he's like a cousin of the show. So good morning, Tony. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Morning, everyone.
Sorry to keep you waiting outside. When you were calling me to say that you were waiting outside, we were actually recording the show. So I couldn't drop what I was doing. And I did look down and saw it was you. And thought, okay, as soon as I get done here. Because I figured you were calling to say you weren't coming.
Well, I mean, what does it say when the politician is here and the building is empty? Oh, no. So, I mean...
the building was not empty.
I mean, the gates are locked. Yeah. I mean, this is like Fort Knox out there. I'm like, what's the matter? You guys don't start at 9 o'clock on a Monday?
First can't let anybody in.
I mean, I was in there. I'd already gone through emails, had my coffee, and it's 9 a.m. sitting outside, and it's like ghost town.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what happens when you're 5 minutes early. And Hayden was yammering on and on about Sonic Temple. So
it's not.
Oh, that was Heiser.
We work around the clock anyway.
We do. It's nonstop work. All right. Let's dive in. We got a lot to talk about. All right. Starting with the proposed data center in Franklin Township continues to be a topic for conversation. I know all three county commissioners have said they oppose the project, but you can't legally ban it under state law. Mansell Mayor Jody Perry has said the city will not proceed with the proposed plan. So what message do you have for residents who are still concerned? Because I know they're still coming to your meetings. They're jumping online to watch meetings. What do you tell residents who they're still worried about that project?
That project with that developer is not going to happen. I mean, that's where it's at. You got to love, though, commissioners, you can ban wind and solar, which isn't all the way true, but yet you can't ban the data centers. And the answer to that question is yes. And I'm sorry we didn't make the law. So thank you for that wonderful headline. Then you open the door for people to say, "Oh, they can do solar, but they can't do." Must be in the pockets of some data center.
I'm sorry for stating facts and headlines. I know as a counselor, a barrister, that facts sometimes become messy things in your world.
I saw that headline. I was like, this is going to go well. That is, it would have been the city's annexation, similar to what's going on with Buc-ee's. Jody, Mayor Perry, made it very clear she has no desire to enter into any agreement with the developer. And I believe then the township, I don't want to speak for them, but I think they're going to be looking at some things they have, which exceeds our authority on the zoning side to stop that from happening. But as far as we are concerned, that project with that developer is not happening. And I want to say that project because we will never say no data center will ever come into Richland County, right? And I think I said that about Jody. She did the right thing. She looked at it. She evaluated the opportunity. There could be other places years from now on an old industrial site where it isn't farmland where a data center makes sense. This project with this developer does not make sense, and Jody correctly said we will not be moving forward with this project.
Do you guys look to other communities or areas when you're talking about, data center, it seems like every day there's a new story on like, the public seemingly does not support any data centers. Like for the most part, it seems like there's like 60-70% of people don't support it. But then there's so much movement on them. And it seems like there's such a need for them from, I don't know who, like people that want to run AI or other technology. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys look to like the national pulse on it or like the area pulse? And why was it just the developer or is there's a bigger trend with data centers that you're like not so sure about yet?
Okay, so those are all good questions. Let me
load it up on that one.
I would say the area sentiment right now is very it's anti-data center.
Right.
Okay, so let's just talk about that, and that's the constituency I represent. So I'll always start from there. Yeah. Myself, Jody, the chamber, because the chamber functions as the county's economic development piece. Same with the city. We do have conversations about opportunities, but they do look at other places, and we're all using AI. So there is a need for data centers. And I want to be careful because I never want to pull a George Bush where he said, "Read my lips, no new." That's why I'll say I'll never, 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 never say a data center will never. But it's all about looking at the data center, the power utility needs, and location. Right? It was pretty clear that in Franklin Township, the Franklin Township residents wanted nothing to do with it. But then you talked about the developer, and I want to be careful because he's not here, but it made it very clear in conversations with him, and Jody more so than me, that this is not someone our community wanted to go down a business relationship with.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, Tony can't say this, but I will say this. They were working with the city, trying to develop a plan. Jody had more questions. The city had more questions. But all of a sudden, this guy goes to a public meeting in Franklin Township and proclaims, I'm 90% sure we got this as a done deal. Well, if you want to scare off an elected leader, do that crap.
Right.
Tony couldn't say that, but I don't have any problem saying it. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen a developer say.
I'll say that. Okay. I agree.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, and it was unfair to Jody.
Right.
Because then you had another news outlet, not you guys. I felt that headline was a little misleading about how, mayor was moving down the path of a data center until pushback. And then that's not true. She was having conversations. He said 90%. I would say they were probably at 10%. Like, I mean, where he got, that's what I'm saying. This guy just makes stuff up. He told me at one point it would bring 5,000 jobs. And I don't know about I looked at him, I go, no. Well, he goes, well, no. I'm not saying full-time jobs. I mean construction. I'm like, I still don't believe you. Yeah, and then I said, well, how many full-time jobs will this actually bring? Ghosts. Never answered the question. Exactly. So, when he went behind the mayor's back and spoke for the mayor and said, this project is 90% done. Buddy, you hadn't even procured the power yet. Right. I mean, he just...
Well, and the mayor said, and correctly so, she hadn't even had a chance to talk about it with members of city council who would have to approve such an annexation. So he completely jumped the gun, and there's no way. There may be, and I just looked this up because I wasn't sure. I'm trying to decide whether I want to call it data or data. But apparently both are acceptable. Data is the most common pronunciation globally, at least according to AI overview that I'm looking at. Thank you for a data center somewhere that's letting me do that. Or data, which is common in part of the United States and the UK. So it's data or data. You can say it either way. I just wanted to make sure. Now, staking on that topic, there's a couple things going on statewide. There's a drive right now to get a statewide ban on the November ballot. Legislation aimed at studying, because that's what state government does best.
I love a good study.
Oh, they love a good study in Columbus. But they want to study the entire data center issue. Thoughts on those ideas, as well as, do you think Ohio should change the law? I mean, they gave county commissioners the ability to ban commercial wind and solar in townships.
Unincorporated areas.
Sorry about that. Unincorporated areas and townships. Do you think, or do you want that kind of responsibility on the county commissioner level regarding data centers?
Well, I don't mind having responsibility if it's in our normal codified areas of responsibility, right? That was my issue with Senate Bill 52 all along, is commissioners don't have zoning authority in the state of Ohio. That's reserved, and it should be at the more local level. So I was never a fan of Senate Bill 52, and I still plan to work with the state legislature to change that. So the answer to that question is no, I don't think commissioners should be involved in the business of making zoning decisions for data centers. So however the state wishes to do it, again, it should, and currently, as Ontario did, remains at the local level. Now, if you're talking about a statewide prohibition, like we did with wind and solar, we did select areas where we prohibited large wind and solar, but there were also a lot of other areas in the county where we could have commercial wind and solar. So to say an outright prohibition, I'm not necessarily sure you want to go that route as well, because there could be, again, old industrial waste sites that could be perfect for a data center where people wouldn't have any problem, and it would bring revenue and some jobs to a community. So I'm not necessarily sure if an outright prohibition would be the way to go, but if there are enough signatures and it gets on the ballot, then we'll look at that when we get there.
That was Ontario, wasn't it a 6-month
6-month
moratorium on
moratorium.
proposals for those?
Yep.
And certainly townships have the right to zone things that go on in their townships. Cities and villages have the right to zone things that go on in their townships. You talk about wind and solar, at least from the solar standpoint. I don't think it's any secret the city of Mansfield is working right now on a solar project on top of the old landfill on the north side of the city, because you can't use that land for anything else.
Correct.
It's not
Is it the
farmable.
one off 13?
It's near the airport.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's off Carnes Road,
Yep.
maybe. Anyway, but the idea is you can't do anything with that land. So if you can put a solar field out there and generate electricity, so to say that folks around here are opposed to wind and solar, not necessarily true. Depends on the place.
Yeah.
11 of the 18 townships in Richland County told county commissioners, we don't want it. So that's what commissioners did. Like it, don't like it. But yeah, we'll talk more about that as we go on. But
Can't
let's talk
wait
about
for that.
Let's talk about Buc-ee's. The project near I-71 and Ohio 39 continues to generate buzz over Buc-ee's. The annexation, I stayed up late on that last night. The annexation and zoning issues are coming to City Council Tuesday night. From your perspective as a county commissioner, what impact could that development have on jobs, tourism, and future growth in the county?
So you want to talk about a compare and contrast. You have that developer of the data center who we just discussed a couple minutes ago. You contrast that with...
He's dumber than a beaver.
Yeah. I mean, Buc-ee's has been the exact opposite. They've been upfront. They've been responsive. What they've told us has proven to be true. So, it's moving forward. The annexation, hopefully, will get passed. Buc-ee's is certainly mindful, and I know there's neighbors in and around that area that are concerned, and I think that's very reasonable. It's the other thing. You say 200 jobs, 200 full-time jobs, and around 100, 150 part-time jobs, and people call you a liar. You're already a politician, so they have the negative connotation going in. But that's the numbers we are getting. I mean, we're talking 200 full-time jobs. And if people haven't been to Buc-ee's, have all of you guys been?
Yes,
yeah,
we
you
went.
went. You all went down. Because I heard
Huber
hating
Heights.
on the road and his taxes and lack thereof.
He still hasn't paid him, by the way.
So
That's
yeah,
not
Jody,
true.
if you're
Not true.
where are you at? If you're in the city of Mansfield, Jody,
Yes,
get it.
yes.
I am.
Yeah.
It's not true.
It's not just a gas station. I mean, it's a restaurant, it's a retail store, it's 24/7. Once you go to one, you can understand the amount of jobs it brings. So that's a long way of saying yes. You have the zoning piece, the annexation piece, and then the last two pieces would be a development agreement between the city of Mansfield and Buc-ee's, and then Buc-ee's would certainly need to close on the land.
The tourism bit is what surprised me about it. Just all the fanfare of people driving to these things. And
when we were down at Huber Heights, there were people from other states, all over the state of Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Indiana. And I'm like, are y'all nuts? But
The overwhelming majority of the revenue will not be local, too. So that will be new dollars and new traffic into the community. And those are the projects that are attractive. Again, you're never going to get unanimous consent, because the people living in that area certainly are concerned. Buc-ee's already had conversations with them. They're looking at some things in terms of design to lessen the impact they may have on the neighbors. But it's rare where you can have a project like that where 90% of the dollars are from out-of-county individuals.
No, I attend a lot of those meetings. In fact, I attend all those meetings where folks who live in that area, some farmers in that area who have come to express concerns and just frankly opposition, which means there's been a lot of debate over economic development versus quality of life. So how do you balance as a commissioner bringing new investment while also addressing resident concerns about quality of life?
Well, I don't think there's a bullseye where you have a pro column and a con column, and if you have so many pros or so many cons. I think you look at the entire project as a whole. The first thing you look at, it's roughly about 35.5 acres, which isn't a small amount, but it's not the hundreds and hundreds of acres that data centers need. The next thing you look at location. Then you look at the new jobs it would bring in, the revenue, the tourism. And you certainly, one of the first things you always look at is, impact on surrounding neighbors. There are some people that live in that area. I've had some conversations with them. Some of them were certainly difficult because I think they were concerned. I know Jody's spoken with them at length. I don't want to not give an answer because I don't want to sound like a politician, but I don't think there's ever a clear answer for every situation. You have to evaluate the entire project and what it'll do for the community economically and also, any impact on the environment. I know people are concerned because it is a gas station. Will it impact? We think Buc-ee's does a really good job of knowing their business and not having issues there. And I just think I would say this is one of the few projects where the overwhelming majority of people I talk to are very excited. I was at my daughter's school the other day. A teacher stopped me. We getting a Buc-ee's? Is this true? We getting a Buc-ee's? I mean, when you're out and about or at Kroger and someone goes, when's the Buc-ee's coming? Where's the Buc-ee's? I mean,
It's everywhere. Man.
People aren't clamoring for a data
No,
center.
no one stops me and goes, let's go data center. Data. And I'm trying not to be too exuberant because I do feel for the neighbors that are in that area, but the overwhelming majority of people are supportive of this project, which is, Zach, the exact opposite of the data center project.
Now, Heiser was just at Sonic Temple on Friday. Speaking of Buc-ee's, go ahead and tell Tony what you encountered
I was
down
just shocked to see several. You see all the different outfits at Sonic Temple, and there were people in Buc-ee's costumes.
A full beaver
Not
suit,
to mention,
right?
you'll see it'll say Buc-ee's Mansfield at some point, and when we get right.
Yeah.
So I mean, then Mansfield is now out. It puts Mansfield on the map. Not that we're not already on the map, but even more.
there. All right. Speaking of more development, the sanitary sewer project along the Ohio 97 corridor is expected to wrap up in a few months, at least it better by the end of the year due to ARPA regulations, and you guys have assured me that it'll be done by then. What can you tell us about what comes next along that corridor that's near I-71 and the state route that links Belleville and Lexington as Columbus continues to matriculate further north in terms of housing and development? What do you know about, what can you talk about that project and that corridor?
So that certainly was an important driver of the project itself as development continues all across this county. You have the YMCA project. You've seen smattering of development along there. The hotel is slowly moving forward, the Holiday Inn. And then, yes, that there is proposed development out there in Belleville. So we designed that to have all the infrastructure upgraded, and then we'll turn that system over to the Village of Belleville. A lot of people don't even know that is a county system. But the one thing we didn't want to do is turn them over a system that was outdated. So they will have all new infrastructure, a new lift station. It's ready to accommodate the YMCA's soccer complex, the full project, not just the outdoor soccer fields. So I do believe that is one of the next areas of development in the county for the reasons that we all know. It's along the highway. It's a little closer to Columbus. You hop right on there, and now you have new infrastructure. So that'll be attractive to developers as well.
So there's ARPA. These are ARPA regulations, meaning like you have to spend
All
money.
projects must be complete, physically complete, by the end of 2026,
Nice.
unless and until they would change the rules, which I don't know
It's
if they
just
will
in time
or not.
for a new pandemic to come and
Yeah.
a new rescue plan to come.
You know
It's
what?
perfect time.
You know what?
2.0 funds or something?
You need to shut up.
We bring a lot to this show, okay?
You just need to shut up about another virus.
Good job, Zach.
That's just what we need. Another ARPA, bazillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, look, we
Further
use the
inflate-
dollars.
Look at how
we
they've been
use the
utilized,
dollars.
Carl.
So
I think you've used the term generational.
Absolutely.
Generational expenditure.
Generational inflation.
Yes, and it certainly is. Thank you very much.
yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about that. Richland County voters, we were talking about this earlier, but I wanted to ask a specific question. Voters upheld the county's wind and solar restrictions. What do you think that result said about the priorities of local voters? And this is what I thought is interesting. Do you think the community's concerns about a data center helped keep those restrictions in place? I mean, do you think voters conflated those issues together in some way? You had wind, solar, you had data, and all of a sudden the vote goes the way it goes. Because there was certainly money, a lot of money spent the other way in this election.
You think?
Really? I'm waiting for campaign finance reports to be finalized in June, and then we're going to do a breakdown on who spent what on behalf of the wind and solar issue.
I think the early math on just the campaign finance to date was over $44 for a no vote and 66 cents for a yes vote. In speaking to people at the Board of Elections informally, it's the most money they've ever seen from outside money come into Richland County for a truly local issue. There was $250,000 of money spent on the campaign for a no vote from a New York City, what I would consider, I mean, let's call it what it is, a more left-wing organization. So the first answer to your question is I certainly think the resident concern about preserving rural farmland towards the vote helped to a certain extent. But I also think that very fact, I know there were some people who I just spoke with that were initially considering a no vote, but were actually very upset with the outside money that was coming in. And I also think I'm different how I run my campaigns. I mean, I'm sorry, dude. A truck driving around with a vote no around precincts and polling places, I mean, that's just next level cheesy. And I think it ticked Richland County residents off. I do. I think the existence of that outside influence, where you fell on that or not, I think that was the biggest driver. And then what was hilarious, too, is you read some of the articles, again, I would say from your more left-wing publications that are claiming, well, people were confused about the issue. So people who voted yes really wanted to vote no. And I was like, so wait a minute. People who voted no maybe didn't want to vote yes. And I just don't want outside influences on any side of the fence, whatever the issue, coming into our county.
I was going to say, this is not, I mean, there are other counties around here, for example, in recent years have seen big money come in from oil and gas concerns.
Yeah, I don't want any of
outside
it.
concerns for local issues.
And that was, I think you saw, Carl, that was the essence of why we did what we did, was protecting local interests. The biggest misconception out there was, first off, you could have wind and solar in your house as long as it also meets local zoning, by the way. We just simply represented and approved the will of local townships who wanted prohibitions in their unincorporated areas. So we had townships that say, you know what, we'd be okay with large wind and solar. And we said, okay, that's fine. And we're not that's the other thing, we're not anti-large wind and solar. We signed an agreement with our energy provider to go out and try to procure solar energy. Cliff and Daryl have been more involved in it than I have with solid waste on bringing a commercial solar, as you talked about earlier. So this misconception that we were anti-wind and solar, and I guess when you spend $500,000, that's the message that'll be conveyed. But I just think it's bad both ways. I think for a New York City organization, whatever side of the fence you are on, to come in and try to impact Jackson and Sharon Township in Richland County, Ohio, I just don't think it's a good thing. And I don't know how you fix it, but I know that there were people, I think that upset people more than anything else. You want to talk about the data center, you want to talk about the confusion of the issue, driving a truck around on election day is just, it's just ridiculous.
See, that's why I vote early.
I wonder if there'll be a trend of like voting against where the money.
I mean,
because
yeah.
like money in politics, a lot of people hate it, but it usually works, right?
I mean,
like usually you spend that much money versus the.
I've never seen it. Have you guys, Carl? You've been around a long time.
I was getting 3 or 4 pieces of mail a day.
Still in
from the NCRDC, whatever it is, out of New York. And the funny thing is, I was getting them more and more in the final days before Election Day, but I'd already voted.
I vote early.
I got a phone call like not long after Carl walks in with those in his hand.
Yeah,
same day.
Just I brought a stack of them in just to have
I don't infuse my. Hey, you're New York City. I don't involve myself. That's however you want to run your. And that's getting a lot of news right now. It doesn't really make any difference to me. That's how that community wants to run that, and I would just ask that it come the same way. But it goes both sides, and I don't like it.
So if the oil and gas, I don't even know if there is such a thing, the oil and gas consortium wanted to spend $250,000 on a Richland County issue, that you're in favor of. Let's just say you were in favor of that issue.
I wouldn't like it.
Okay.
I just don't like it. And again, right now it's $450,000 to $8,000. I think the yes side may come in around 12 or 14 and we expect the no side to come in at $500,000.
I look forward to seeing those numbers and reporting them. Now let's talk about something fun. There's a big party coming up June 13th on the site of the former Westinghouse factory, sponsored by the Richland County Land Bank, I believe in partnership with the Leadership Unlimited class of 2026. Now, I was in
the best one, right?
No, that was 1997 when I went through. That's how old I am. I was going through Leadership Unlimited when you were in diapers.
Who won the
I didn't know it was
basketball
in bed
national
already.
championship in 1997? You're all sports fans.
Since you know, I'm going to say Duke.
No.
Who was
Notre
it?
Dame.
UConn.
Nope.
Wasn't Ohio State, so we know
Arizona.
Arizona.
They beat a Kentucky team who had an injured Derek Anderson who transferred from Ohio State. Remember?
Was that a Lute Olson team?
It was. They had.
Well,
that was
I knew the coach.
That
There you
was a
go.
good team.
Yeah.
Remember, they had Miles Simon, Mike Bibby, Bramlett, Dickerson.
Richard Jefferson was he?
No, he was on the 2001 team that lost to Duke. But that team was sick. But that Kentucky team with Derek Anderson probably wins the title.
All right, so there you have it. The Leadership Unlimited class of 1997.
Hey, you're sports guys.
And the Arizona basketball
there you
team
go.
of
And
1997.
the Florida Marlins beat the Cleveland Indians in Game 7
Senior
of the
don't
series
slam,
that
right?
year.
I still have a column written,
Jose
waiting to
Mesa.
run, that points out what was happening.
I was like
in
10
Ma-
years old, and I couldn't watch the end. I had to go to bed.
I literally started writing a column when it looked like the Indians
For
at that
5 outs
time.
away.
Yeah, 5, and I wrote a column. What was going on in Mansfield the last time the Indians won
Let's
the
just
World
run it
Series, which
anyway.
was in
And
1948.
is that column sitting? It just got shelved, and
It was sitting in the database at the Mansfield News Journal, so I'm
Data
sure,
center. Data
I'm
base.
sure it's long since dead, much like Jose Mesa's career after that point. All right, but nobody likes a party more than me. But what comes next? Where is the land bank in terms of redeveloping that site? Millions of dollars have been spent cleaning it up. What about the ROI? What do you get beyond just cleaning up a 30-year-old eyesore?
I think we'll start looking. The Westinghouse party will be the beginning of that process. The grass was planted.
Looks
We
great,
should have
by the
some
way.
runway. It does. I mean,
I drive
Are
by
there-
every
I
day.
know.
In
Are
these
the
last few
geese?
weeks.
Are the geese still
they're
there?
still out there.
Is it-
Jennifer Kime and Blair and Alan are working on the arch. By the
Yes.
way, she told me to say something nice. Don't say anything bad about her. So
Well, I wrote about the arch. So she
right.
has to be happy
So
about that.
this will be the beginning of just saying, hey, we're back. I said this last week. I was selfish to the point I didn't want anyone else to be the first group to bring the site back to life, so to speak. So much effort. Well, first off, it was our community where it employed 9,000 people at one point. You wrote extensively about it. It was our community that really put in the sweat equity to get it demolished, and I really felt it needed to be our community to bring it back. So there were some people who had some ideas of concerts and this and that, and I just personally said no. If anyone's bringing it back, it's going to be our community. Now, that's been a ton of work. I would spend all morning on this because, again, you're bringing a dead site back to life in terms of power, water. I mean, anything out there we don't have right now. So I was emailing the power company and then the local contractor to get the power taken care of. Working with the city of Willard on the mobile stage. When is that going to get set up? You need the power to get the mobile stage going. We have no toilets, so got to get the final porta-pot invoices approved.
Sure.
Otherwise, you'll have a new water feature.
Working with companies to fence off the beer garden. And look, this will be it's cash only, people. Look, it's going to
is
be
key.
cash only, and the reason is
Well,
because
Heiser ain't coming there.
yeah,
So he
I'm
is-
sorry. Look,
He is
No
all-
Venmo,
it's
no
not
Apple
easy.
Pay.
You don't have Wi-Fi out there on top of the land bank, even though it is a nonprofit. It is tied into the county financial system. So to open that up via electronic, we just had a conversation with the auditor. And we said, you know what? It's going to be cash only. So for those of you who are going to be ticked off, figure it
seems
out.
shady to me.
There it is.
Cash
There it
only.
is. See, so
See, I only use cash.
I still
Practice.
use cash.
Yeah.
So, I mean, figure it out, people. We got the F2 permit from the state of Ohio. We got the necessary additional insurance. I'm learning more about insurance than I ever wanted to. I mean, I'm calling Gary Walters every day. I'm like, you got to think this guy is just not doing a good job here as an elected official. I'm like, I don't know anything about insurance. So, you got to have your certificate of liability. Then you got to add people as additional insured. And then they need to make sure you can add them as an additional insured. So
there's no
fun.
power out there right now?
There is some power to some poles, but where we need to go, no.
Wow.
It's just a really long orange extension cord.
Yeah, right.
Like college.
Plug them in.
We're just running it out. We're just running an extension cord out of the what's the build business incubator.
Yeah.
We're just running an
Braintree.
extension.
From Braintree.
Yeah.
Running an extension cord across.
Yeah. A few power strips.
Yeah, they'll put
be
tape
fine.
down.
We'll put duct tape on the road.
course.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it crosses the street. That'll be nice.
It should be pretty cool,
Will
though.
you be there in a Buc-ee's beaver costume?
No.
Okay.
I'll be in a yellow
can-
volunteer
somebody should
shirt.
be.
I'll be in a yellow volunteer shirt.
They don't-
It could be you.
They don't make those Buc-ee suits short enough for Tony to.
Oh,
to
my,
wear.
Captain Tall over here. I forgot. Like Muggsy Bogues sitting over here.
Yes.
Hey, I do have a Duke basketball trivia question coming up for you when we get done.
Boy, they play well in March, don't they? They
Yeah.
really know how to snatch defeat out of the
Yes,
jaws
right.
of victory.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of that. All right, but now the Board of County Commissioners, Cliff has another election in November, but assuming he wins, we're going to have the same board for a couple more years. So, what do you see as the biggest opportunity over the next couple of years, and what's the biggest challenge?
Well, we're not done with the building, right? We have a couple more sections of the building we want to finish. Daryl, Cliff, and I want a goal we have is to whoever takes over after us will inherit buildings that are up to date, well maintained. So that piece we got to finish. We'll start looking at some things this fall. The next piece is I think you're seeing that right now with extending some creative ways to attract economic development, Buc-ee's, the infrastructure on 97. And then the other thing you're going to start seeing us look at avenues where we could utilize public funds to incentivize additional economic development and private investment. Now, what that entails, I don't know. Can we do that with the Port Authority? Can we do that in other ways? But I think now that we have the county on sound financial footing, it's how can you be proactive and then utilizing taxpayer dollars to continue to get a return on your investment. So I've had some talks with the chamber, Jessica Gribben, the new director, Tom Vanderhorst. Okay, if we did X, what would that look like? Or if we had some taxpayer dollars to do a certain project, what would that look like? So I really think you're going to start having our office look at next level ways that haven't often been done in Richland County to incentivize economic development.
There you go. Because I won't say it again. It's squishy, but the whole Port Authority concept. But I will continue to cover Port Authority meetings, even though sometimes there's nothing to write about after you cover them. But I will always come to keep an eye on those.
Carl loves Port Authorities.
I love a good. Well, the only thing I love more is a Community Improvement Corporation meeting. CIC, Port Authority, you guys just create more and more government.
Well, first off, we
acronyms.
didn't create it. The state of Ohio created it.
know.
All right, so let's correct
throwing
that,
out
Mr.
allegations
Well, you already know
journalist.
what I think about the state of Ohio government. So,
Let's use this for example. You were at the last meeting, and
Yes.
we have a project that's going to go through our port to utilize the Marion Port Authority for bond financing, right? Talk about, I'm going in there.
double squish.
I mean, geez.
It is double squish.
I mean, you have to be really smart to understand all this, so I've tried to dig deep a little bit. But I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Now, I know we're a new port, but it sort of drives me crazy. You guys know me. Wait, why do we have to use a Marion Port Authority? I know why we have to do it,
Correct,
but I don't want to do that anymore, right? I want to keep
Right,
all the dollars.
That's because your Port Authority's too young and
Right.
you don't have bazillion dollars in the bank
So
yet.
I'm not saying that that's what the commissioners are do, but as soon as you know me, as soon as I got out of that meeting, you see my wheels turning. I don't like this.
Yeah,
So how do we
yeah.
fix this where we can? So those are the things. To go back to that question, that's exactly. I want our Port Authority to be used for. I don't want to go outside. I want Richland County to benefit all the way. That's not to say we'll never do it, but those are the type of things that we're looking at to make sure Richland County continues to benefit.
But here's the interesting thing about that. There's a developer, and we're not going to get into it because it wasn't really discussed, but there's a developer that wants to do a development, and he needs bond funds through the Port Authority. This Port Authority is still too young. It doesn't have sufficient resources, so it uses, with permission from the Richland County Port Authority, to use a different county Port Authority, but then Richland County Port Authority basically gets a finder's fee.
Not a ton, though.
Oh, not
I mean,
a
the
ton,
money
but
is
I mean,
gonna go to
everybody
the
wins,
Marion Port.
Carl.
But
Yeah, everybody
everyone
wins. Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
Richland to get all the wins in that
Uh-huh.
situation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marion County, for existing now, but we'll...
I literally thought I was sitting around a meeting of the 5 families in New York City.
that doesn't bother me. I'm Italian.
I know.
so-
There you go. All right, I'm going to wrap up today with a Duke basketball current trivia question. All right,
I'm still... Look,
I know you're still stinging for
this
March.
year was worse than last year, and last year was really bad. And it stinks because Ngongbo was hurt. How Caleb Foster scored that many points against St. John's, but 2 days later he could barely walk. That was not.
Boo-hoo.
That's a Duke team missing 2 key players that were like could barely walk, and they still should have made the Final Four. But man, did they really?
They haven't won a championship since 2015, so it's a long suffering.
You know what?
Duke fans.
If Cameron Boozer, that's his name, right?
Yes.
Cameron Boozer, not to be confused with his dad,
Carlos.
Carlos Boozer, who, by the way, still is the funniest Cleveland Cavaliers story of all time. Oh, sure, I'll sign the contract.
He
wink,
hosed
wink.
them so
oh,
bad.
that was so funny.
He hosed the Cavs so bad.
His loss, he could have played with LeBron for a few more years.
Yeah.
He said he went to be irrelevant for the Utah Jazz.
You're true.
That's okay. But anyway, Cameron Boozer can't dribble, can't pass, just throw it away, give up a buzzer 3. You know, that was.
Did you? And as soon as he turned it over, you knew it was going in too.
yeah.
I just like, oh.
You said that. Film.
But listen to Zach over here. Isn't the standard so high? So they won a title in 2015. They've been to what? 2 Final Fours and 4 Elite Eights and won a title in 10 or 11 years. And Zach's like, oh, they suck.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just making fun of you for like lamenting Duke basketball. Just like,
Well, they're going to
funny
be
thing-
really, really good again this year.
The
of
funny
course,
thing
they're
is,
always really, really
you,
good.
You lament Duke basketball, but nary a word about your alma mater getting blown out and
That's
skunked
true.
in the second round.
So,
He is not a Duke football follower.
No.
I don't. But
What-
let me tell you,
what-
that's the worst draw. So,
Oh,
Judge,
here we go. Here we
Judge
go.
Phil Nomoff and I went to the Dayton playing game.
Yes.
Look at us crossing aisles, right?
Yes, there you
Judge
go.
Phil on the
Yeah,
other
look
side
at
of the
that.
fence.
Well done.
Miami grad. It was one of the best. We had a blast. It was an arena full of Miami students.
It was played in Dayton.
Hey,
if you
hey,
can't get
you
an
play-
arena full
hey,
of Miami people
speaking
in
of Duke,
Dayton,
they had to play South Carolina as a 2 seed in South Carolina one time. You play who you play.
that's it.
But Tennessee was a bad draw because of their height and physicality. Miami was a perimeter-oriented team. I think they could have won another game had they
matchup.
with the right matchup, right? I mean, Tennessee
Just
went to the Elite
a
Eight.
team that's
No.
not athletic and big and fast.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Tennessee was one of the bigger teams in the
They were.
tournament.
Okay, in 1983, my senior year in Athens, we win the first NCAA tournament game in many years. Danny Nee was the coach, good guy from New York City. Danny Nee's the coach. We beat, I don't know, Southern Illinois or some school like that. Second round game, Kentucky. And that was the end of that.
We
I
played
mean,
Kentucky in the Sweet 16 when
you're-
I was there with Wally. I mean, it's
you're-
all draw.
You're a MAC school. Second round's about as good as you can hope for.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
We
I'm
want
just saying.
more. Although
All right.
Byers transferred to Penn State, so
Yeah.
you
All right.
know how this goes.
All right, here's my Duke trivia question.
Got
All right, and it has to do with the NBA.
Mm.
There are 4 teams left in the NBA, right? There's Oklahoma
playoff.
City,
Mm-hmm.
there's San Antonio, there's Cleveland, and the New York Knickerbockers.
Yep.
And I will always say Knickerbockers because I think it's a funny word. All right, so there are 3 current Duke basketball players still alive for a ring in the NBA playoffs this year. Tony Vero, Duke fan extraordinaire. Name the 3. And who do they play for?
I only know Tyrese Proctor is one of them.
Who does he play for?
The Cavs.
Yes. Who's the other 2?
I don't watch the NBA very much, so
They went to Duke, and they're in the
once they move on, it's like okay, you
Oh,
know.
man.
Give me clues. I don't watch the NBA, Carl.
Again,
I
the
mean, I watch the Cavs.
Knicks, you got Jalen Brunson, Villanova,
Right.
Anthony Towns, Kentucky.
I don't.
I'm trying to think on the Knicks.
De'Aaron Fox is
no,
Kentucky.
he-
I don't
It's
know if
tough.
these other 2 guys are big contributors, so I don't
Yeah,
know if
I-
you ever get it. But
Get
there's
what-
one on San Antonio, and there's one on Oklahoma City.
Is there a Plumlee still around?
Yes, San Antonio has
Oh.
Mason Plumlee.
All right, there you go.
I don't know if he plays. I
Okay,
kind of
so
doubt it.
He's
but-
been boy.
So Proctor, Plumlee.
And who else?
Does the third one start with a P as well?
No, but he plays for Oklahoma City, or he's on Oklahoma City's team. I don't know
Lou
if he
Dort?
plays. No,
no, he doesn't get any. It's not a guy that gets any burn.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
anything
gotta
about
be
the
a bench
NBA.
guy.
Give
The
me a
last
clue.
NBA guy I followed was Willis Reed. So
I don't know who is it.
Jared McCain.
Oh, that's right. He got traded.
Yes,
He got
he was with
traded.
Philly,
Yeah, he was with Philly.
Look, the only reason I know that is I looked at DukeBasketballReport.com today because I knew Tony was coming in, and they have a whole story that says, with the NBA playoffs down to 4 teams, odds are a Duke guy will get a ring.
Well, would you take, if you had the number 1 pick, would you take Dibanza or Peterson or someone else?
Cam Boozer.
I wouldn't take Cam Boozer. He can't dribble or pass in the clutch moment.
I think Cam Boozer's the safest pick.
Yeah, I think he's got the highest floor. He didn't. I mean, a 28-inch vert is not blowing it off the chart. I would be very concerned about drafting Darren Peterson. I'm sorry.
I don't know
Take
anything
the
about
BYU kid if you're the Wizards.
There's got to be somebody from Europe that's better, so I'll go ahead and take those guys instead. All right. What haven't we asked you about that you feel strongly about that you need to speak about this morning?
Because everyone wants to hear a politician talk more. So, no, I'm just thank you for having me in. If you guys have any questions, again, we're just looking at going to the next level with economic development at the county level.
All right, folks, if you do want to follow along, Richland County Board of Commissioners meets Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually at 9:30 a.m. The meetings are open to the public. You can also, I think, watch on YouTube. I think they have a YouTube channel you can watch there.
TikTok?
No TikTok.
Commissioners should have a TikTok.
I think they
Never-
should.
no.
I think the 3 of them should do
Oh,
a
yeah.
TikTok. You know what? On June 13th at the Westinghouse party, I think there should be Board of Commissioners Land Bank TikTok. I'm going to get somebody on that.
Riveting
right
stuff.
away. Yeah, we'll have that done.
No.
All right. Well, Tony, thank you very much
Thanks,
for coming
guys.
in. We will wrap up today's show on that note. But for now, thanks again to all of you for listening to the Newsman Weekly. I'll be back in a second to put a bow on this week's episode. But until then, remember what author Mark Twain once said. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.